G'day everyone, Marc here from Marc and Cars. Welcome back to the channel. Today you find me with a Porsche Taycan Turbo. It's my first time in one of these cars. Let's have a look around and take it for a drive. Okay, so driving the Taycan Turbo. This is my first chance to drive a Porsche electric product. So this is the middle of the range car. I'll go through all the specifications and stuff like that within this video, and also the options on this car, which are quite extensive. It's a beautiful car to sit in. The displays are beautiful. Not too, in all honesty, it might even be a level up from the 992 that I reviewed recently, which I'll link the video below if you want to have a look at that. It's got another display. It's been optioned with the passenger display too by the looks of it. So it's basically a whole dash with this just screens. And also on the centre here, all the controls for the air, heat, seats, etc. all touchscreen here in the middle. And it's actually not a lot of buttons outside of the steering wheel binnacle space, so where there's ample like there is in any modern car. What's quite interesting with the car, just before I take off and drive it, is the gear selector, which feels very similar to the 992 ones, actually dash mounted instead of console mounted. It's actually even a little bit hidden behind the steering wheel controls, behind the cruise control indicator stalks. But anyway, let's take it for a spin. You'll notice the lack of sound. Let me adjust that mirror for that letterbox slot of rear glass I can see through there. It is extremely quiet in here. Has all the modern comfort and function you would expect from a modern Porsche. It's actually the torque is just instantaneous, as everybody said in every YouTube video that you would have watched before mine. And as much as it looks like a GT car, it's the size of a GT car, and it's probably got space in of a GT car because it's actually a 4+1, which means the +1's the middle seat, which is fairly token. It does have modern sports car performance. In fact, just on its performance figures, I wouldn't be surprised if this middle of the range Taycan Turbo here is probably as fast as, if not faster than, the top GT products that Porsche now offer. Look, obviously there's a 992 that's due any day now here in Australia, and we'll look forward to seeing those when they make a guest appearance. But I would say that, you know, if you're at the lights, unless you're pretty handy at pedalling, the Taycan Turbo driver might take you at the lights. As I mentioned, the displays are stunning. It's got all the multi-function drive modes and stuff on the steering wheel. All the standard buttons. Actually, the steering wheel feels and looks almost identical to the 992 one. This car's also spec'd with the fake noise, the sound. So I'll just turn that on, see what it sounds like. Don't know if you could hear that. It sounds like a jet taking off. Is probably the best way for me to describe it. I don't know if Porsche introduced this for the driver to feel like they're driving, or if they did it for pedestrians to hear the cars coming. It might be a bit of both in all reality. I'm not 100% sure. But it is a very noticeable sound, because when you do turn it off, we're back in our little capsule of silence here. It's beautiful. The actual dynamic of the car, the steering feedback's quite well balanced, as This car's a lot heavier than the 992. I think this thing knocks in at about 2.4 tonne there and abouts. It doesn't feel it to drive. Like, I know what a 2.4 tonne car feels like, and it doesn't feel that heavy. The steering feels very similar weight to the 992 actually. With regards to the ever-present concern that the combustion engine manufacturers push into the marketplace about range anxiety, Porsche make it quite prolific that how much energy you've got left in your car. So that's very easy to see on your dash here. Actually, all the graphics are beautiful. Like, there's a consistent complaint amongst modern car reviewers, and particularly the older ones in reality, that the electronics in a car date a car quite quickly if you have a car for a number of years. That's quite evident when you look at early 2000s cars compared to today. When you get in one, you look at the screens, but when you look at the screens today, I don't know how much better they're going to get in another 15 years when we look at car screens, because the resolution is just razor sharp. It's better than my TV at home, I'll be honest with you. Porsche have claimed the acceleration in this car with launch control at 3.2 seconds, and we all know how well Porsche measure those times. So this is probably a 2-second car, 0 to 100, high twos in all reality. I'm not really in a position in this neighbourhood area to test it, and I've got to be honest with you, I've driven a 4-second car that's 0 to 100, and that was horrifying. So I can't even imagine what a high twos, low threes car is. It's nauseating. But overall, the comfort of the car is fantastic. I think this car is actually spec'd with a comfort seat, so I'll double check that. But these are, you can sit in these things all day. The seats are vented, so they've got the fans in them if you want them. They've got the heating in it if you want it. You're not going to want a lot more than that. This car's actually a demo, so I can tell that purely because of the fact it's still got all the plastic over the screen, so that special moment when that owner gets to peel them off like it is with a new mobile phone. So, and you'd be devastated if you didn't get to do it yourself when you spent this much on a car, in my opinion. The car has the Sports Chrono on the dash. I'm not sure if Sports Chrono is standard with turbos or if it's an option or not. I'll just check the spec sheet when I finish in the car. Steering wheel, I mentioned it had it. I think it was a sports steering wheel spec'd on the 992 Carrera S I tested, but I'd say because this is the Taycan Turbo, this would come standard with the steering wheel, I'd imagine. It's got like a matte carbon finish on it, but the rest of the car looks like it's got a full leather pack. It's actually, there's not many places. So there's a bit of matte carbon down the side of the console here, but overall it's pretty much covered in black smooth leather, which is just stunning. Like all Porsches, whether you buy a Boxster or if you buy a Panamera Turbo S E hybrid, the finishes are just impeccable. One of the really interesting statistics about the car is how quickly it accelerates from 80 kilometres an hour to 120 kilometres an hour, which that's a great number for real use. The 0 to 100, sure, that's a Hollywood number that manufacturers use to describe the acceleration of a car, but when you're actually driving a car, I think that number from the overtaking number when you're out on the highway, that sort of thing, that's the number that really matters when you're driving. And because all the talk's on tap all the time with these electric cars, for this car it's 1.9 seconds. Now that's like a blink of an eye. I can't even imagine you'd be, by the time you got your indicator on, you'd be overtaking the car in front of you out on the highway. Yeah, this is pretty horrifying. That was just if I said a quarter stab of the accelerator, I don't think I'm exaggerating there. Wowza. Ergonomically, the car's actually pretty interesting. It's got a bit of storage under this floating front part of the console here. I actually think the console's slightly a bit wide. It's got 2 cup holders in there. Big ones too. Look like they're made for the American market. Visibility is typical of a 911, but this is actually a saloon style car. I'm not that impressed with the rear window visibility, which is necessary, I understand, for the sloped back that occurs for the aerodynamics and all that sort of thing, because I know how important that aerodynamics thing is for the electric cars in particular, because it has such a big impact on its range. But yeah, visibility out that back window is pretty token with the headrests as well for the back seats, which some of the new modern cars you can switch mirrors and stuff like that to use the rear camera instead of the mirror so that you improve your rear visibility. So I'm surprised it's not a feature on this car that I've seen on some of the current models, but it may very well be in future models or even the next model up, I'm not too sure. To give you some insight as to the range of the car, I think I'm just about to go past a nice 993 actually. I don't see too many getting driven today anymore. Yeah, with regards to the range of the car, it's currently running at 78% left of the battery, and it's telling me I've got 259 kilometres. So it's probably, in real world terms, got about a 330 to 350k range. I'm sure it's more on the highway, less around town. And I don't really get myself the range anxiety thing, because every day you leave home, you know, you're going to put the thing on charge in your garage, let's face it. You're leaving home every day with a full tank of fuel. And whilst that 330 to 350 kilometres is less than a lot of combustion cars these days, you know, most people get between 500 and 700 kilometres out of a tank, the reality is, if you've got any performance car of this, or any car that comes close to this performance, that is the range of a full tank of fuel. If you drive an AMG or, you know, a Porsche Turbo or a GT series car, you know, if you get 300 k's out of a tank, you're a genius. So on that front, you know, there's no, you know, the vehicle's range is definitely not a concern if you're in the market for one of these. Well, I've just finished the test drive in this car. Overall, the car, stunning. You know, every aspect of this car, you know, from the ventilated seats through to haptic feedback on the screens, beautiful. Look, all the parking assist features, this car has everything. You know, don't get me wrong, you'd expect it to have everything. It's not a cheap car. Overall, there's definitely a lot more positives and negatives in the car for me. There is, you know, your standard electric concerns, which I'm not really going to bring up here because, you know, every video that has an electric car in it talks about them. The things that I think are mildly problematic with the car as an owner, but this is being extremely critical, I mentioned earlier, rear visibility. Overall, the car's, you know, what else is wrong with the car? Not really much, you know, everything's here. Like I mentioned, ergonomically, I think the console's a bit wide. There's actually nowhere to put your left hand if it's not on the, or if it's a left-hand drive car, your right hand. The console's not really, because your hand actually ends up falling on the screen. So, but that might just be my driving style, I'm not too sure. But anyway, it's been a great experience driving the car. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch today. Please browse the channel for other videos. I'll link my 992 video below. Thanks to the Porsche Centre Perth. You know, if you've got any comments or suggestions, please put them in the comments below. I do read them. And have a great day. Thanks for watching. Marc and Cars.